Hi, I'm Luke Janesco,
And I'm Dylan Newell.
and welcome to the first edition of Sunday Scaries. Now, we're doing something a little different here, trying something new. So, every Sunday morning, we're going to kind of be here discussing our favorite horror things. So, it's kind of like your Saturday morning cartoons, but if Tom caught Jerry and cut his head off with an axe. So, we're kind of just going to talk about every little thing. Well, not every little thing, some of the biggest horror news, because you're always scouring through the internet trying to find your different news, all the stories that are coming out through the week. But what we're going to kind of do is take all those tidbits and morsels, throw them into a power juicer, and kind of give you a smoothie of horror here every Sunday morning, so you don't really have to kind of go looking for that stuff.
Smoothie of horror. That's a really good way to put it. I like that. Yeah, so this was just basically just birthed out of us just wanting to kind of stay current with you guys and kind of give us an opportunity to BS about what's going on in the horror world, because we tend to sit here for 15-20 minutes sometimes before we even record an episode and just catch up and talk about everything going on anyway. So we figured, why not just dedicate a whole show to it? And
Yeah,
like Sunday Scaries came up as a title, and it's just kind of took off from there.
because I mean, sometimes even before we turn on the mics and start recording, we lose like 30 minutes. So it's like, hey, we might as well start recording this stuff and putting it out there for people to kind of go along on that ride with us. Because I mean, there's so much horror news from week to week. We might as well take a Sunday morning, have a cup of coffee, a little contemplation, like uh, Sheriff Hopper likes to say, and just get ready for the week.
Sounds good to me, man. Why don't we get right into it
But
then?
see, speaking of Sheriff Hopper, we got to talk about Stranger Things, which is one of the biggest pieces of news here. So, Stranger Things season 4, volume 1, was released on May 27th, in its biggest season yet, literally. The shortest episode being just over 1 hour, the streaming juggernaut set a Netflix record for most hours watched in a weekend premiere. Offering up some of the bigger stories this season gives the show a different feel than just a group of kids riding their bikes around town to save the world. With Volume 2 being released July 1st, what are some of your initial thoughts as we step back into the town of Hawkins last week? Because I know you haven't finished it, you're only a few episodes in.
Yeah, I've only watched a couple of episodes. Needless to say, I've had a lot of time, but like I haven't had a lot of time. It's just like the easiest way I can put this. So like, I'm
It's an investment.
I'm transitioning between jobs, so I have time. Like I just get caught up with life and a baby and all this other stuff going on. But yes, this has been kind of a struggle for me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll come right out and say it that like um I'm intrigued when I'm watching it, but like just the idea of sitting there and just watching it, it's a little daunting. It's a little bit like, okay, yeah, so every episode is like an hour and a half, which normally I'm all for, but like I think I have a pretty tricky relationship with Stranger Things at the moment. Like, it's weird. When it came out, I was all about it. I loved it. I loved the tone, the nostalgia factor of it. It was all really cool because I think that was really fresh when that came out. Like, that was
Yeah.
2016. So, like, that was still in that era of, like, Star Wars had just come out and everything. So, it was just kind of one of those things where it's like nostalgia was big. Like, people were about it. Now it's kind of hitting a point. Maybe we're past that point already where it's just like people are getting sick of it. And I'm not necessarily saying that I'm sick of it, but just I don't know, the idea that we've been inundated with so much Stranger Things stuff outside of the show too, that has just constantly just enveloped in our lives is just kind of made me have a really touchy relationship. Like, first season is great. Second season was all right. I had some issues with it. I was really excited for it. I like the tone, but I think everybody agrees that that one's kind of the weakest of all the seasons. Season 3, I absolutely adored. I was so hooked to that. I watched it literally within a week, like between shifts and everything. I just watched as much of it as I could stomach. And then it was great. It was a nice emotional roller coaster. I thought there were a lot of great arcs in that season. And I really love, like, especially what they did with Steve Harrington. I thought that was great. Um, so I don't know. This one's just kind of it's good, but it's just one of those things where I'm just kind of like, eh. It's Stranger Things, and I don't think it helps too that we've had Kenobi come out. I'm an avid Star Wars lover over here, so I other than horror movies, I have other interests, and Star Wars is one of them. So I've watched all of that. I watched that twice actually, so I will admit to my sins. I've watched all 3
Come
episodes.
on, man. What are you doing?
And now I have The Boys just released 3 episodes, and those are some shows that I've been really looking forward to. So Stranger Things is just coming out at a tough spot for me. I also saw Top Gun in the midst of all of this as well. So
Yeah. Well, see, like in my thing, I think some people are totally exhausted, and I am one of them for this whole nostalgia run that they've had. But Stranger Things is the only thing I will give a pass to because I feel like they started it.
they did
Where
pioneer it.
it I never gave a pass to because yes, they said that script was written previous to Stranger Things, but you don't get the bonus points that Stranger Things did when Stranger Things came out and made nostalgia cool. So it's kind of like I feel like they get the pass. So I can't be exhausted from them because it was their thing. So it's everyone else's problem in Hollywood trying to harp on nostalgia, not necessarily Stranger Things, if that makes sense.
No, I
So
get
for me, it's like they always get the pass. It's like they doubled down on it way before it was cool. So it's like, okay, this is their thing. We're going to go with it. But yeah, I understand the fatigue because before when they released that list of the runtimes, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make it through this. And it did take me, honestly, when Stranger Things would come out, I would binge it like within that first weekend. I didn't even watch it that first weekend. I just didn't have the time. I didn't want to commit to something. I didn't want to watch the first episode and not be able to get to the second episode until 3 days later. So I kind of just waited. And then once it starts going, I was totally invested in it. And this season does have a way darker tone, which I think you need that. Like if we were gonna kind of have that same tone from season 1 here, I would say it's not gonna vibe. It's not gonna work. But with the cast getting older, you need to develop that horror as well. Where it's like now we're transitioning into adult horror, and I feel like that is what season 4 is doing. They're dealing with a lot. I mean, the big bad in this one is way scarier than anything they've really dealt with before. Because I know we had talked about it previously, and I mean it's out there where it's like it feels Nightmare on Elm Street-esque, and it really does. It's like you can see the parallels that they've kind of made when creating season 4. And I mean, Vecna, man, I loved him from first sight. You know what I mean? And it's like to know, I don't know if you've looked up anything on that, but the makeup artist, I mean, that's came out and said that's 90-95% of their work on screen. They're not really doing CGI unless it's need, but that dude's sitting in the makeup chair for 8+ hours to get that done, so it's like you got to give him props for that stuff, especially what we talked about with like Abominable and all that stuff where it's like practical is the way to go. So it's like for me, I got to give them their props for all this stuff because it's like Stranger Things is the show that's getting it right. So it's like I got to give them props for it.
No, I can 100% sit with that and agree. I think that's very fair. Especially the point of them being first and coming out here. A little sidebar I want to mention is I totally cannot wait till the day that we get into it because we differ so much on that first movie, but I think
Yeah.
we absolutely align perfectly on the second one. So
Yeah.
like that's just going to be a very interesting show. I'm excited for you guys to hear that. But
Well,
as far as
not to get into too much of a sidebar, but
okay,
it is not a horrible movie. The kids are the selling point, and that's what it is. Like everyone always talks about the kids. Yes, there's some interesting things happening in that movie, but for me, it's not all cracked up. Like everyone kind of, I think, went overboard talking about that movie, which I
fair.
think is maybe in
That's
addition to
fair.
Stranger Things. I don't know.
That's totally fair because that's how I kind of feel about Stranger Things is that everybody got so into it. It's almost like I call it the Deadpool effect, because like Deadpool was really awesome when it came out. When I saw it opening night, that was great. I enjoyed it. I loved it. But then you have to start dealing with like uber Deadpool fans that just never give it a rest. And I feel like that's kind of where you went with Stranger Things a little bit. I feel like there's a lot of people who just like were like, I live and die by this show, which is fine. Do it. Like, if that's your thing, do it. I'm not saying don't, but for me, it's just kind of like, and I guess this has to do with, we both worked in used media stores at this time, so we're talking to a lot of like-minded people in that sense. So it's kind of like, you know, you just get sick and tired of just having that same conversation about it over and over again. And like I said, there was so much Stranger Things content everywhere, from video game cameos to all this. Like, you go into a Target and there's literally a whole section in like the kids' toys area of just Stranger Things stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's one of those shows where it's just so mass marketed.
Yeah. Well, and I think, and I don't want to say this is a giant blanket statement or anything, but I think Stranger Things kind of catapulted horror, because I didn't know as many people enjoyed horror until Stranger Things came out, and they're like, "Oh no, I love being scared. I love horror movies. I love this and I love that." And it's like, I don't know necessarily. I don't want to say as a whole the horror community is kind of like gatekeeping a little bit to be like, no, I actually did like horror before Stranger Things. So horror is my genre. You're kind of a tourist, kind of coming in here and looking at all the pretty shiny things, and then once Stranger Things is over for the season, hey, you dip out until next season, and then we all have to pick up this conversation. So it's like I don't think that's always the case, but I think maybe that is like a little thing where Stranger Things kind of brought in a bunch more casuals to say I love horror, even though when you're sitting down and saying, oh, this is from, go watch Firestarter, and you can see parallels here, and go watch anything from the 80s, and a lot of beats are taken from the 80s, which I think that's what the Duffers were doing. We're trying to bring that nostalgia back. But like, most people don't get that, and I guess to me, in a sense, it's a little annoying to be like, no, this is stuff from the 80s. These aren't new beats. But, a lot of people, in their late teens, really early 20s, don't really haven't went back and watched any of that 80s stuff, or like, oh man, this is total new material, which is not, I don't think, what the Duffers were doing in general. I think they were trying to, because we did go through that long period of none of those 80s kinds of movies were being made anymore. I mean, you didn't see a movie like War Games being made in 2010, and then the Duffers came out and took that formula, put it into 2016 for that nostalgia in the 80s, and then Hollywood was like, oh my god, there's a market here. Let's dust this bitch off and get going with it. You know what I mean? I think that's kind of where some people kind of get annoyed with the Stranger Things effect. Which has nothing to do with the Duffers or Stranger Things in general. It's just kind of like Hollywood took it and ran with it and kind of exhausted us.
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's just kind of what happens whenever you have something that's really catching on. Like, same thing's happening with big studios right now. Everybody has a streaming service.
Yep.
And like, that's been going on for like over a decade now. Like, streaming has been a household staple for a long time. And like, you're just now within the last few years post pandemic coming into, everybody's now just like, well, I have a streaming service and I have a streaming service. And it's like all of this, which, some see as a detriment, others see as beneficial. One thing, because like we should definitely talk a little bit more. I kind of segued us off here, but I think we should definitely talk a little bit more about the content of the season itself. But one thing I do kind of want to mention is we're in a totally different landscape too. I don't know exactly how much TV you watch episode by episode, but like a lot of stuff nowadays is coming back to that, especially the Disney Plus stuff and things like on Amazon are going week to week. And I don't know. I think I personally like that. That feels more manageable to me than like the intimidation factor of like getting, instead of, me getting one episode of Stranger Things that's an hour and a half a week where I'm just like, okay, that's 1 hour and a half I have to just, set aside and watch. Like, I'm going to do it, as opposed to getting now, like, what is it, like 11 hours or something like that we have to watch
Yeah.
all at once. It just, and I don't have to, but I know that, but it just like, it kind of psychologically, I'm a little bit more intimidated by that. But you're also talking to somebody who watched the same 3 episodes of Kenobi twice. So I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, it's
No,
just
what
what
the
it is.
hell, Dylan? You're not making any sense. No, I'm kidding. I mean, like, yeah, I think that it's a compulsion thing where the episodes are there, so you want to watch them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's so easy, especially with something like Netflix, because admittedly, I don't watch a lot of different TV. I'm not really into it. I'd rather put on a movie. If I have an hour and a half free, I'd rather put on a movie, so I'm gonna get the beginning, middle, and end, close up shop, and I'm good to go. You know what I mean? Instead of having to it's very rare that I will sit down. I write a lot of TV, but it's very rare that I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch something. It's a huge commitment. But like Stranger Things is like, um, it is something I will sit down and I will watch all the way through. Like The Boys, I watched season 1. I think I watched episode 1 on season 2, maybe, and like that was it.
That's a
Um,
shame. That's such a great show.
and it's nothing. There was nothing against it. I just get bored and I fall off for some reason. I don't know
Mhm.
why. And eventually I'll probably dust off The Boys and I'll make that commitment. But I don't watch a lot of TV. But it's like, it's very. I understand what you're saying with the big undertaking because with Netflix, it's like, hey, I have 5 seconds to decide if I'm going to commit to another hour and a half, or if I'm going to go on about my day. Before that other episode loads up, and a lot of times by the 5 second mark it's already started, so you're like, well, I've already committed, and
Yeah.
then that could be your whole day. So it's like it is a commitment. So um I don't know. I mean, like with the week to week thing, I don't know how I feel about it because I know the kind of narrative has been, hey, with all these streaming services and they're going to up their price, we might as well just have cable back, and that's almost the case with a week to week thing where it's like, hey, if they're making you commit to the streaming service to a week to week basis. I mean, yeah, it's not that much different than cable, especially when they start. I mean, with Netflix's issues that have been coming out and them talking about upping the price or adding more ads into the streaming service itself, it's like, well, I mean, does it just become 2-minute commercial breaks and a $20 to $25 price tag for monthly, and we're going to release our episodes every month? Because then what's the point at that, at that stage?
I know that's a whole nother conversation in and of
Yeah.
itself, talking about all this, because it's just like, that's, to me, it's just kind of like too little too late. Like, like, to not harp on it too long, but it's something that I do like genuinely like to talk about. Is just like with the streaming service stuff, like, you know, it would probably be fine if Netflix had this plan from the start, because like nobody complains about Hulu. And Hulu
Yeah.
does that with a lot of it. Like, their main plan is, with ad supported. So it's like, that's cool. Like, they can do that. And, you don't hear a lot about them having a lot of problems. Like, they're producing the Prey right now. Like, that's all Hulu. So it's kind of like, that's cool. And they've been really stepping it up with their content. Like, I believe that recent Sebastian Stan show. Well, he also had a horror movie called Fresh on there. I know
Have you
that is
seen it?
apparently pretty cool. I have not seen it. Have you
Would
seen it?
recommend. I've
Oh,
seen
you
it.
have seen it. Okay, so
Yeah.
it is pretty
I'd love
cool.
to talk about it.
Oh, we definitely could. I do want to watch it. And then what is that show that he had though? Based off of
Oh,
the sex tape.
Tommy Lee and
Yeah.
Pam. I don't know
Oh,
what it's
Pam and
called.
Tommy. Pam
Is
and
that what it
Tommy.
is?
I think
Okay,
it's Tommy and Pam and Tommy, I think is what it is.
there
Point
we go.
being, great show. Like, I enjoyed it. I watched it. It's one season. It's just like a mini series, but like, it's just one of those things where it's like they've done it from the start. And I think that if Netflix had, had this ad supported plan as an option from the start, people wouldn't care so much. But the fact that they're trying to kind of muscle their way into that now, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't flip open Netflix nearly as often as I used to. I
Same.
I really don't, which is odd because they have some of my favorite content. Like, but then they're also notorious for canceling a bunch of content that I love, like fucking Mindhunter is like the biggest travesty there is in television right now,
Don't
and
bring
has
that up.
been for a while. But then they also produce stuff like they let Mike Flanagan do whatever the hell he wants, and they do like
Yeah.
Midnight Mass, and that's like my favorite probably piece of content from last year. I'd say if you put movies, video games, and everything from last year, like that's probably the top of it. I fucking loved that, and
Do you
that will
remember
be when we
when
talk
you
about that.
watched it and you were kind of like a little bit lukewarm on that?
Yeah, yeah.
I was like,
Well, see, like
oh,
it was. I don't necessarily know if it was like me being really lukewarm about it. I remember the conversation, and I had just seen a scene in that movie or in that show that's really tough to watch. You know exactly what I'm talking about really early on
yeah,
in the show. So it's like when I had texted you about that, when I was just kind of like, ooh, like I don't know about this one. It's because like that was such a really tough scene to watch.
yeah.
That's all I'll say. We'll get into it when we talk Midnight Mass. But yeah, if I want to circle it all the way back here to Stranger Things, because we do have other topics we have to get to. Um, season 4 for me so far, and like you've seen all of it, right? You're done with it.
Yes. Volume one.
So
Yep.
as far as what's been released,
Yep.
I'm like 3 episodes in. Uh, I'm enjoying it. I honestly can say that first episode was pretty tough for me to get through until the last like 10 minutes, but I think
Yeah.
it's
It picks
supposed to
up.
do that for you. And like I
Yep.
totally get it. They're setting up new characters, which I love. I think the Duffers they always have 1 to 2 characters a season that are very very solid. You have Bob from season 2, who
Yep.
everybody loved. You have, oh god, what's her name? Steve's friend. They work at the video store.
Robin.
Robin, that's what it is. Um, Fantastic character. Love her to
Yeah.
death. And then you have Eddie in this so far, which I haven't, obviously I don't know how it shakes out for him or what goes on. I really enjoy him so far. I think that he's a really charismatic act. I think the actor is doing a great job. I think he's a cool character. Um,
See.
and they do a great job with characters. Like they
Yeah.
really do write them well.
I was not an Eddie fan until later on in the season. I thought that initial introduction to him, I was like, this guy's trying a little too hard for my taste. Um, so I was like, I don't know how I feel about him, but then I grew to enjoy his character by the end of the volume. So I was happy with that addition. But yeah, like you're saying, like everything that you're saying, all the characters they bring in that you can think of that were not in that original group in season 1 are all extremely enjoyable characters that have all had their moments, even in this coming season here, where it's like, Murray, he's hilariously good. I feel
Oh
like
yeah.
he adds so much to the dynamic of,
He's been
him
great
and
since they
Joyce.
brought him in. Like he's like, but the deeper he goes into this, just like deep state government kind of bullshit. Like it's like he's great. Like I just got to the part, and I guess mild spoilers a little bit here. If you don't want to know anything about Stranger Things, don't. Where they're having dinner, and I guess I can
Yeah.
keep it pretty vague, but where he's just explaining how he got into those circumstances and everything and why he's there and everything. Like just hilarious. Like I fucking love it. I really I don't remember his name because I'm really bad with names when it comes to this show because there's so fucking many people. I really like the friend from California, the guy who drives the van.
Argyle.
Argyle,
Argyle.
dude, fantastic. Like I think he's
Yep.
hilarious. I love it when him when he's talking about not going to the same college,
Yeah.
and they're having that moment. He's like, "It's not even my girlfriend, and I'm stressing about it." It's like I love that. Like he's just such a unique character. Like, and the Duffers do great. I mean, I even really like the dynamic with Angela. I think she's
Yes.
horrible. I hate her, but like it worked for me how that all kind of went down. Like that, it works really well. Like I think that's great, and I got to give him props for that. Like I will get through it and I will watch it, and I guarantee you by the end of it, I'll have positive things to say about the whole season. But I don't know. I guess just for me, and then I'll let you kind of give your spiel on it since you've seen the whole thing. For me to kind of put a button on Stranger Things season 4 so far is like I'm enjoying it. It's exciting. I know more people are like really excited for this, but I just don't know what it is. I think that just like maybe since we're what now 6 years removed from the first season, and I guess we had such a long break between 3 and 4 that I just wasn't feeling that excitement that I think I was really hoping I would feel.
Yeah.
And is there a season 5? Because I've heard mixed things. I've heard that they canceled it, but then I heard that there's still season 5.
If to my knowledge, I believe that there is a season
And
5
that's the
coming.
last season.
Yeah, that would
Okay.
be the last one. So
Okay.
yeah, to my
So
knowledge, I mean, something could have changed, and I may have missed it, but I believe that there is still a season 5 uh, on on the docket, as they say in Hollywood. No one
yeah,
says that, but
I'm
I like to think they do.
I'm very
Um,
interested to see that. So take it away.
um, yeah. So I mean, like for me, I think Stranger Things is one of those because I felt it even going into it. I feel where it's like one of those. Okay, I'm not really into it until I get into it, and then once you're in, it takes you a moment to get invested, but then when you are, you're really, I mean, you're going for it. You know what I mean? You kind of get hooked, and you just want to finish it. And that's what did happen to me. Because I honestly forgot Stranger Things was being released on May 27th. I think I remembered that Friday. It was later on in the day, and I was like, oh man, Stranger Things is out. And then I had to verify. So it was like, but then once you get into it, I feel like, okay, you're like, okay, let me watch another one. Let me watch another one. And overall, this season's way darker than any of the other ones, which I give them props for because you have to change this up, especially when you're at this juncture in storytelling. You have to make something feel fresh, and I think they do. I'm excited to see what volume 2 holds. I mean, when you get to that episode 7, it's balls to the wall. Like, and let me tell you, my man Murray, he shows out. So definitely, you're gonna love him even more. I swear. Um, I would say hang in there. I think you're gonna enjoy what is to come.
Mhm.
Because I mean, you've scratched the surface, but they're gonna really dive into the storytelling here. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, overall, I was happy with the season. I think it's strong. I think you just have to get there. I think the run times, they're a little rough because it's an
Yeah.
investment. But you know,
And it's weird, like I feel like longer run times. I always support a longer run time personally. I think like if you're
yeah,
an artist and if you feel your story deserves that and needs that, take it. But you know, it is up to us as an audience to come out and judge whether we believe that was justified or not.
yeah,
And so far for me, I would say the longer run times aren't. But I think, like you said, when the story kind of I've scratched the surface, so once the story kicks over, maybe things will change.
yeah,
And I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited for this. And then of course I think we'll save any kind of ranking from you until the last 2 episodes come out or anything like that. I feel like that's fair. Because we only have to wait a month. So it's like,
yeah,
once that actually hits, I think then we'll reassess and come back and talk about the whole season.
yeah.
Um but yeah,
You just gotta not watch Kenobi for a third time.
yeah, no, I will definitely be a good boy and I will finish up my Stranger Things before I
You
start the
gotta
boys. How about that?
you gotta stay off that Disney Plus because they got problems of their own. So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm
well,
a I'm an avid Disney Plus user. I hate to say it. I'm on that shit all the time. Like,
we can move into our next thing because I don't think this thing's gonna pop up on Disney Plus anytime soon.
are
Uh,
you serious? I was looking forward to it.
oh man, I don't think so. Maybe Netflix, but we'll
Okay.
see.
All right.
So Blood and Honey from debut filmmaker Reese Frake Waterfield has been announced with a few still images to accompany it. The film is described as Pooh and Piglet go on a vicious murder spree when they are abandoned by Christopher Robin. The film was shot over 10 days, and the filmmaker says audiences shouldn't expect a Hollywood level quality to the film. Red flag. Is this horror at its best, or is this when it goes off the rails? Dylan, what are you thinking?
This is when it definitely is going off the rails, I guess I could say, because this is cash grabby for sure.
Yes.
Uh, like the backstory that I've looked into for this is that Winnie the Pooh is now in the public domain. He's been since the start of the year. This is a very quick turnaround for this movie for that to happen. to write, direct, and everything. Maybe they knew it was going to come up, and I give them the benefit of the doubt. They wrote it a year or two prior, but yeah, like this is, it's fun. I'm gonna check it out because of what it is. But it's one of those things where it's like, if you're already gonna say like, if you're just coming out there and basically like handicapping yourself and saying, don't expect a Hollywood level quality film here, it's kind of like, okay, so it's like, this isn't going to be something that's going to be remembered. This is just going to be like a Willy's Wonderland, which I love Nicolas Cage, but like, yeah, Willy's Wonderland had so much promise, and then by the end of it, I was just like, that was really dumb. I didn't care for that at all, which sucks because like with if you're gonna do a wild concept like this, follow it, do it, like just fucking go for it, man. It's almost like the exact opposite of the nostalgia conversation we just had, where with that I would almost expect, because like, not to get too deep here, but I have a script that is totally like it. When I first wrote it, or when I first pitched to you, the idea was like nostalgic reference around every single fucking corner. But now, over the years of refining the idea and the concept and everything, it's a lot of it's been drawn back, and it's kind of just turning into this thing where it's like, well, let's harken back to some of these like older techniques and things like that, and make that the nostalgia for it. Like, I'll still have my references and stuff, like as far as that, but like, I don't think that I need to put as many in there as there were, because it was pretty ridiculous. This to me is just kind of like, if you're going to do this, why not, swing for the fences and try to produce something that's really cool and entertaining. But just coming out and saying like, oh, don't expect this, like, don't, like, it's not going to be great, but it's just like, that's what I read into it, at least. It worries me, and it's just kind of like, okay, is this even going to be worth checking out? For me personally, I think this is off the rails, but like, when we see a trailer, then I can be a better judge of that.
Yeah. I honestly, I feel like this is gonna be a downright disaster. And to me, to be honest here, I really feel like this is just absolutely a publicity stunt by a director who this is gonna be his first film. He wants to be on the map, which is working because we're talking about it. It's been on the radio. It's been headlines everywhere about this whole Pooh thing. But what I'm gonna equate this to, honestly, would be to say that like a Pooh and Piglet horror movie is to what we would be saying Halloween is a William Shatner slasher movie. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I feel like this director's coming out and saying this is Pooh and Piglet go on a vicious murder spree when they are abandoned by Christopher Robin as a publicity thing, where it's like, this just turns out to be two guys that are wearing a Pooh and a pig mask in being a slasher, where it's like, unless you're going to take me to 100 Acre Woods and you're going to show me that that they've been abandoned and they come on out because they're looking for Christopher Robin, if that's the route we're going to go and you're going to double down on it, then I'm going to say this is a unique to the Winnie the Pooh universe. But if we're saying that there's a couple of people in a cabin and then two men show up in a bear mask and a pig mask, that's not Winnie the Pooh. That's just him wearing a Winnie the Pooh mask. And I feel like this is just publicity.
Yeah, and like, I think like my like little final thoughts, I guess, on it would just be like, I don't know what I want them to do more. Do I want them to have the anthropomorphic Winnie the Pooh human hybrid thing, or do I want them to be just serial killers in a mask? Because like, I think I'm giving the film way too much credit when I say like, I picture a movie that's going to be like Strangers or You're Next. But then I also picture something that's a little bit more zany, a little bit more like, these things are real creatures and beasts. And I think you can have a lot more fun with that. Like, really open it up. I think what you're saying, like, go into the 100 Acre Woods, give it some kind of background lore to like, it produces these things, bring in the other characters like Tigger and the rabbit and all these other guys and stuff like that. Like, give them all a little something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
So
it's like, and I don't think that they're going to actually double down on any of that. It's like, I don't know. I feel like this is one of those things where you get the director in a seat, and he's just spitballing random stuff, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Christopher Robin, all this other stuff," because that's what people want to hear, and it's getting butts in seats. But I feel like at the end of the day, we're not really going to get any of that. I think it's going to just be random. Two killers show up in masks, and that's what it's going to be. Because yeah, like you're saying, I think you would have a lot more fun if you're taking that lore from Winnie the Pooh and going to expand upon it. But if we're saying we're not going to expect a Hollywood level quality film, how are you planning on doing that successfully? And I don't think you can. So if you're not saying that this is an actual bear coming out on a killing spree, then it's a man in a mask. That's not Winnie the Pooh. So it's like, it doesn't make any sense. And like, it would be, this is something I feel like is better fan fiction than anything else, where it's like, I can't remember if you remember, I had a funny thing I used to pitch all the time, where it was about Willy Wonka and the Oompa Loompas and them, one of them falling into the chocolate stream and watching him drown, and that sets them all off. I used to pitch it way back in the day all the time as a joke, and it's like, that's funny, but I would never actually make that movie, because it's just like,
I don't think that's funny at all. That's horribly offensive, Luke.
Hey, you, whatever.
Oompa Loompas are people too. Come on, what's up with you? No, I do remember that, but I get what you're saying. Like, it's definitely, this does kind of feel like something that it's like, you get this idea and you're just like, let me write a couple paragraphs about what this movie would be, and let's see where this seed goes. But ultimately, it should probably just go into the trash can. But no, they want to chase it. They want to do it. I say go for it. You'll probably get some of my money to check it out, but I don't have high hopes at all.
It could be the best film ever.
Could. That's always a possibility.
Well, I think this will probably be one that I think is going to come out. I know the director said he would love if like Netflix or someone picked it up, but I don't see that actually happening. I feel like this is going to be like one of those ones that comes out, and then, because they said they're rushing through everything to kind of get it post-production and ready to go. So I don't expect the quality to be there at all. So I feel like this is going to be something that is going to be like talked about now, and then once it comes out,
never brought up again.
Yep. It's going to be totally filed away as something I had watched and forget it exists, and I think that's what it's just going to be. But that doesn't surprise me. But I don't think we'll be getting any action figures from that film.
Well, now I'm disappointed.
I'll get you a Winnie the Pooh plush.
Okay, I'll take that. A little plushy evil Winnie the Pooh
with a little knife to go with it.
There you go.
But that brings us to our next topic here. Is Neca has unveiled its Neca convention exclusive in honor of the 40th anniversary of John Carpenter's The Thing. The figure encapsulates the poster figure from the film and features an LED light in the head and interchangeable faceplates to recreate the poster's signature burst of light. So I know, obviously, we're all big Neca fans here.
What?
So
no, what the fuck? Oh, yeah, that's right. I have a bunch of Neca bullshit around me, don't I?
You only got those for the podcast. You have no interest in action figures at all.
I literally spent hundreds of dollars on just these for the podcast.
It's straight up commitment, and I applaud you, sir. But obviously, look behind Dylan there. There's an expansive array of action figures already released by Neca. They haven't covered everything. I mean, we and you get in these discussions all the time of who would we love to see. So Dylan, who's like either your top or in your top of figures we need to be released? And then obviously, I already know you love this new The Thing figure. It was released Friday?
Yep.
And you were able to pick up.
I had a horrible Friday, and like, not to get into all the personal stuff, but Friday was definitely a rough day. But I did carve out a little bit of time just when things kind of calmed down for a minute. And I was able to snag 2 of these bad boys. I spent my $114 on that. Actually threw that on a credit card. But that'll be one of those things where it's just like it's a convention exclusive. They've made it very clear that they're not going to be releasing this to mass market. Whether they stick to that or not remains to be seen. Because sometimes they do double back, or in a couple of years they'll release it in like a pack or something. It can all go that way. But for now, my plan is, because obviously I release all of my figures from their plastic prisons. But I do keep the boxes and I keep them nice, and I do have plans to make those. Like, these are some of my current favorites. But I do plan on keeping one of these sealed and wrapped up and just kind of mounting it in the background here somewhere. Probably next to the concept art that you have for me that you got signed. So like, yeah, that's something, if people have not seen, kind of tough to see, but yep, there's some thing concept art that Luke got me for my birthday a couple years ago. I love it. It's one of my cherished items from that film.
I want that back.
Have the 4K steelbook for the movie, so it's like, and I do have the Scream Factory edition as well. See, I'm a big fan of this franchise, and like, this is definitely one of those ideas that I never would have thought this would have come out.
This one surprised me 100%.
Yes.
I never would have guessed.
But yeah, like, this is super cool. And like the LED light function, I know I've seen some people online kind of question how that's going to work, if it's going to be as bright as like what the poster states. And I'm just going to pluck him out of here real quick. Hopefully I don't knock everybody over. Looks like we're good. Here we go. It's Blake from The Fog. Very nice and bright. Very good. Gives that ominous look exactly like how it's supposed to.
Yeah.
In the film. And so I trust him 100%. Because I've never been a big cloth figure guy as far as like that line from NECA, but like, I gotta admit, like, some of these are pretty awesome. Like this
one does look really nice. You're kind of swaying me here because I'm not a cloth guy either. But I definitely need the Reanimator.
Yeah.
And now I'm thinking about that Fog.
I have him, and then Harry Warden is also great, which is awesome. So like, if you want some of my opinions on like my top, like what I want to see NECA release soon, and then we'll just kind of pitch back and forth, I guess, here. I would really, really love to see a Winnie the Pooh ultimate NECA figure. I think when this movie comes out and hits, I think that's going to be the one. I'm kidding. What I'd really actually like to see,
or whatever.
One that I actually had a conversation with a gentleman at a local toy shop here about a month ago. I want to see Leprechaun. Yes. That would be awesome. I think they've already given me a lot of my wish list stuff recently with these Thing figures. I know they've already said that we are going to be getting Thing creatures at some point down the line. They've teased that already. But like the Kessler Wolf would have been one that I was like, I want that. So I mean, if they're already like answering my wishes, then Leprechaun is huge. Because you could go a few different ways with that. Since he's such a small figure, give him a bunch of really cool accessories. Give him his tricycle. Give him the little car. Even if you just want to make it like one that goes through the entire franchise, give him a whole bunch of stuff. Because like, even with Sam, very tiny figure from Trick or Treat, lots of accessories, lots of interchangeable heads. There's so much you could do with it.
Yeah.
And I think it's fucking Warwick Davis, man. So it's
like, I mean, they're so detailed that it doesn't feel like you're cheated in any sense, because like the Sam figure for me is like, obviously I love Sam, but it's one of my favorites just because it is smaller than the rest. Like looking behind you, he sticks out because he's in his little orange onesie and he's shorter than the rest, so it's like those ones really stick out to me. So it's like, I would love a Leprechaun. I think that would just be icing on the cake right there, especially they released that Funko of him, so it's like, which I never would have guessed we would have ever gotten Leprechaun merchandise ever.
I don't really do the Funkos anymore, but I'm picking that up.
Yep, I know that's one of the ones. I'm the same because I only really look out for horror Funkos now. But it's like the Leprechaun is definitely one I'm gonna get, and I think there are 3 different ones, which surprised me because I was
Hmm.
like, if
They
we're
have a
gonna get a
couple.
Leprechaun, we're gonna get one. But it's like, nope, 3 different variants. It's like, geez, man. But yeah, Leprechaun for NECA, I would absolutely love it.
Another one that I know has been teased, but I haven't heard anything about it for a long time. So I feel like it could be dead in the water. Is they were supposed to be doing the shark from Jaws,
Yeah.
and it was going to be a big boy. It was going to be about this big, and like it would have been awesome, fully articulated, everything. That's one that's on that list there for me for sure. And then if I had to just kind of spitball out another one that I think is unique and we haven't seen that I think would be fun, I would go, and honestly, this is a recent one for me. I would go, and you guys are gonna hate me for not. Let me actually pull this up so I don't butcher this. I'm a recent fan of this, and I do think we'll cover it at some point. Um, but that's I'm just gonna say it, the vampire from Salem's Lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think that would be a really cool one to do, the Nosferatu style vampire.
No, I
Uh,
think that one would work as well
isn't it
too.
Barlow?
Oh yes, yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yep. Okay, so that's what I think that would be a really cool one too. But I'm curious, what are some suggestions you'd throw out there?
I know me and you had well, I can't remember if we had it on one of these podcasts or not. We got in a discussion of kind of like heroes because I know you're talking about Loomis and Ash and
Oh yeah,
uh all them where we don't really get the heroes. I know, like, I mean, Tommy Jarvis from Jason Lives would be a phenomenal one.
A1 figure right there.
Um,
You know
especially
they
to
put
go
him in a
with
two
the.
pack. They put him in a 2-pack, so we have to pay $70 for him.
Oh, he exist already?
No, no, no. I'm saying they would do that. They would put him in a
Oh,
2-pack
okay.
just like they did with Loomis here.
Yep.
Everybody's been wanting a fucking Dr. Loomis NECA forever, and we've had one, and he's like $180 for the fucking box. And like now they release another one. It's like we can get him finally, but you're paying $80 for him
Yep.
because we already
So
have that Michael Myers. I already had part 2 Michael Myers. Never mind. Keep going.
and it's like I would even love a Corey Feldman version of Tommy Jarvis too. If they ever did that, I think that would be hilariously fun. I would definitely pick up both. Dewey Riley, I would absolutely
Oh
need
yeah,
him.
dude, that'd be awesome.
Like he is one. I mean, we had I you know how big of a David Arquette fan that I am, so it's like I would absolutely need a Dewey Riley in my collection. I probably end up getting 2 of them, to be honest. I would love like a younger one and then an older one.
Oh yeah, with the
Um,
stash.
yep. I would love a Jerry Dandridge from Fright Night. I
I was
think that
gonna
would
say
be great.
Fright Night. Fright Night would be good too. Yeah,
And
I
even
love
if they
that.
did Evil Ed, that would be awesome too. Especially if I mean they would. I don't know how you would do it, but like where you're turning in the werewolf. I think that would be so much fun. And then the last one that I had is a big one for me that I would absolutely love is I don't know if they would ever do it is Stuntman Mike from Death Proof.
Oh God, they already have one. It's an old one, dude. I don't even think it's NECA. It might be Mezco. There
Oh,
is one.
okay,
It's like $200.
man.
But it's not even like ultimate. So it's like the legs are all solid and
Oh,
everything.
he doesn't even move. He's not even posable.
No, like yeah, he's got like
Is it
some
like one?
arm articulation.
Is it like one of those movie maniacs?
It's no, it's an old one. It's a NECA. It's real toys. So yeah, it is. But it's I don't know what you'd put it at. $250 right now on eBay.
Oh my gosh.
And I mean, like it looks like you could release this as a cloth figure, man. Like I don't know if that's gonna show up real nice there, but
Yeah,
like you can
it
see the
looks good.
layout and everything.
Yeah,
So it's like, yeah, that'd be so good. I fucking love that movie. I
yeah.
can't wait
I'm
till we talk
so
about it.
underrated. We'll cover it. I mean, we had plans on covering it before. I think forever
Hmm.
ago.
Yeah,
Never got
like
around to it.
that was one of those ones I watched that a while ago, and I just was like, oh, that was cool, like When I first watched, I mean, when I first saw it, I
Yeah.
was like, okay, that was cool, but like I'm expecting Tarantino. Going back to that years later and just throwing it on just one day and just getting so sucked into it and just being like, fuck, this is a great movie. I love it.
Um, I think you forget how good it is until you turn it on.
Hmm. I want Ash from Army of Darkness is another
Yes.
one that I love with the cape and everything. I want that really bad. I would take a werewolf from Dog Soldiers as well.
Yes.
They
Yep.
do have a figure for that. It's old, but it's also one of those ones where it's kind of just stagnant. One, I don't know how you do it, but they've done Chucky, they've done Sam, so they've done little figures. This might be a little too small, depending on how you do it. If you release it as a pack, I know this would basically get you excited. Critters,
Oh my gosh.
because they
Just
have
like,
so many different variations of them too. So it's
yep.
like you could just do
If you did
critters.
like a 4 pack or something of just critters, I would absolutely pick those up.
I think a
My
lot of
gosh.
people would too, and that's the thing. Like it. There are a lot of stuff, and I know most of it they want to do. Like NECA's very active on Twitter, so like they're always responding to people, and it's one of those things where it's like I definitely know that they'd love to do some of these, but it's just a rights thing. Like they have
Yep.
to get the rights to do it, otherwise, obviously, they're pretty much boned. They can't do anything about it.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, man, there's some like they're such a wonderful company. I love supporting them. I do gotta admit, with a little criticism here lately, as of late, I have had to take a few of these back to the store as I just pull them out of the box, do a little test articulation before I pose them and set them up, and I have lost legs, I have lost hands that just snap off the pegs. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, if you guys could straighten that up a little bit with some quality control, then like we're all good.
And that was a thing where I was like, because I've been in the action figure game, for a long time. So like, before there were like options in terms of multiple heads, multiple hands, all this other stuff, and I was always thinking, how does this work without these things just falling apart? So it's like, uh, I haven't had any of those issues yet, and it's absolutely surprised me that I haven't, because for me it just seems like every figure should, as soon as you open it up, should be broken in some sense. But like for me, I haven't had any of those issues. So it's just like, for them to even produce figures like that with multiple heads and stuff is absolutely amazing to me, because it's something I never would have guessed. And it's kind of
Oh
bleeded
yeah.
over until not just NECA, but Mattel, a lot of these other figure companies that are doing that now. So it's like, I honestly do give props to NECA I think, to my knowledge, I have only noticed them as like being the first company to kind of really offer those different kinds of posable figures. So it's like, I mean, they kind of really changed the game in that sense. And then the only other one that I can think of that I would love is like David or Max from Lost Boys or the Frog Brothers. I think that would be amazing.
I know a
Anything
lot of
Lost.
people want Lost Boys ones too, because like when
Yep.
those Lost Boys pops came out a few years ago, like people were
Oh yeah.
livid and wanted those so bad. Like when I was working at the exchange at the time, so like people were all over those, man. Like they really wanted those. One that's I gotta say I think we're gonna get. It's a pretty safe bet at this point, but if you see in my corner over here, I have my Universal Monsters. We did get the teasel of the Invisible Man.
Yes.
So that is coming. That's very cool. I like how that's going. But we also need Creature from the Black Lagoon, and Dracula's given. But the
Yeah.
Creature from the Black Lagoon, I need it. I
Yeah.
absolutely need it.
Honestly, like Creature
I will throw
and
all
Wolf.
of these away if they
Yeah.
don't make it.
It'd be like, doesn't matter. Can't complete the set. But it's like Creature and Wolfman would have been like the top two for me. So it's like, get
Hmm.
that Creature out there, and we definitely need that one.
Absolutely. I feel you. I could talk all day about NECA stuff, man. Like this is some of the stuff that I love doing. I love being a horror fan and just having a company that's dedicated to just giving me cool shit like this. Like,
Yeah.
my dad, he's not much of a collector. I don't really know where I got the bug from, but it's one of those things where it's like he'll come over and he'll see the room and stuff over here, and then he'll he'll see something like this and he'll be like, they made a fucking action figure for that movie? And I'm just like, yeah, they make action figures for a lot of shit now.
You know, and it's amazing because it's like,
Mhm.
I was looking on Twitter, someone made a post about, just randomly about Fangoria magazine. And it's like, I think it started like in 1979, and it's just like before that there wasn't really that outlet, and it's like throughout the 80s there was horror magazines that didn't exist really in the 70s, and then it's gotten a little bit more offerings for the horror genre throughout the decades here, like because I remember growing up and not really having horror merchandise because it wasn't that big of a thing, and that a lot of these figures have just been released probably in the last, what, 6 or 7 years, you know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's
since about 2010, that's when things
Yeah,
started to ramp up. And then I would say even, what, 2014, 2015, when the Ultimate line started hitting pretty big.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like, now that this availability here is, it's crazy to have this much merchandise, to have a reanimator figure. It's
Mhm.
like something I never would have guessed would ever exist. So to have this type of stuff it's easy to get that bug, because you see so many cool things out in the store. You're at Target and you just pass by the NECA figures, and who knows, you haven't watched horror movies in forever, and then you see Jason from Part 7, New Blood. And it's like, this is a serious figure. Whether you like the movie or you don't like the movie, that is a gorgeous figure. So it's like that type of stuff, it gets you buy one. And then you're like, well, now I need Part 6. Well, now I
Oh
need
yeah.
5. We got to have Roy. And
I
then it's
have
like,
I have all of them. I have most of them. I still need both the Roys and fucking part 4. And then I think I
yeah.
have all the ones that are out right now.
So it's
Oh,
like,
and part 2.
it's easy to kind of just, it's a slippery slope, and they make them, they're so well made. They're so detailed that it's like, once you get one, you need them all.
Yep. I will say it does suck that price has been steeply climbing.
Yeah.
We're at about $35 a figure right now, and that that sucks sometimes. But like when you release stuff like Ash from the original Evil Dead, and he comes out this perfect, and it just looks A1 detail and all, like I'm sold. I'm sold.
Yeah.
I bought it. I bought it. You gave me my boy Dr. Loomis. We're good. Like this is what I like. So I absolutely think you're headed in the right direction by saying let's get some more heroes. I want Childs from fucking The Thing also. I want
Yes.
him up here in my little thing, my little group of guys that are waiting to fight all of these. That's how I picture it in my head. Is that these are my like 3 main guys in my movie. I have Kurt Russell and fucking everybody else just up here ready to kick some ass. So
And that's where it's like, I have the Roddy Piper cloth They Live figure, but I would love a non-cloth one just to put up with everything. I absolutely need it. So it's like, that type of stuff I'm all for. Anything They Live, obviously,
mm-hmm.
I'm good to go.
Yeah. And the last thing I'll mention, and then we'll move on here because we still got a few more topics to hit. Would be I'm happy that I did get a Victor Crowley figure. I'd have him back there. That would have
Yeah.
been one that showed up on my wish list. Say what you will about the movies. I know they're not everybody's cup of tea, but like I enjoy the Hatchet movies. They're fun. They're very much like Friday the 13th, but Victor Crowley is a very cool and awesome villain, and I love having him on my shelf.
Those movies are not trying to be anything that they are already not. So it's like, I
Yes.
can't imagine you can't go in watching a Hatchet movie and try to criticize it for being a ripoff of anything.
I
Like,
feel you, but like, God, I'm sorry. I love 1 and 2 a lot. 3 gets shaky, and then that Victor Crowley was rough. That was tough.
admittedly, I've only seen a little bit of 3, and I have not seen Victor Crowley. So I can
Mhm.
gauge it on 1 and 2, and I'm a huge Danielle Harris fan. So I mean, you know, I
Sure,
will stand anything that she's in. But uh,
makes sense.
I assume Victor Crowley's pretty questionable because I didn't even go out of my way to see it after being a huge fan of the first 2. But we can move in move on to our last piece of news here, which is Hayden Panettiere is making her return to acting since a 2018 hiatus, and it is to the Scream franchise. Fan favorite Kirby Reed will be making a return in Scream 6, adding to the roster of legacy characters we saw return in this past January's Scream. Will this add to the story of the Scream franchise, or does this seem like a move to appease the fans that were outspoken about her not returning in the previous installment? Because I know we're kind of getting into this when we're kind of bringing back, with Halloween, all this stuff. You kind of get into this gray area of what is fan service and what is original to the story. And I guess, like, for me, Kirby, while I enjoyed her character, was never someone, I guess I didn't think twice about her potentially living past Scream 4 until it kept being brought up and brought up and brought up. And I was like, okay, maybe she's alive. I mean, for me, it didn't really matter that much. But then it was just like, okay, now she's back. So it's like, I don't know if this is really part of the story, or they were like, yeah, well, we should bring her back because everyone wants her back, and we want to make sure that everyone likes this movie.
Yeah, it's a weird one for me. I've never been the biggest Scream fan. Like I would say I got a little more into it this past winter leading up into Scream 5. I watched all of them when we had a couple of rare occasions up here, but we had a couple adult snow days where they wouldn't let us go to work because fucking there was just so much snow everywhere. So a bunch of people called off, and I had a couple days just to myself. So I ended up watching that, and plus my wife was 9 months pregnant at the time, so we weren't doing a whole lot. We were just kind of sitting around hanging out.
Sitting around.
Like she was about to pop, so it was one of those things where we're just like, let's just, I'm just gonna watch all the Scream movies. And I watched 1, ultimate classic, love that fucking movie. 2, I had only seen, I think, on TV once before, and I was surprised how much I liked that. 3 was all right. But 4, I remember seeing that in theaters and being like, that was cool. Like, I don't know. I don't even know how old I was at that time, but like, that was one of those ones where I went back and I was just expecting it to be like kind of that mid 2000s, kind of like, like this is okay. They're trying to bring it back, like around that Platinum Dune era. But I gotta say, I was pretty impressed. I think that, I've softened up on that movie a lot. And like when I watched it this last time, I was pretty invested. I enjoyed it a lot. And Kirby was a bright spot for me, but again, I'm not that attached to the Scream franchise. Like, so it's like for all these rabid fans who want her back, it's one of those things where it's like, it's cool. I'm happy she's back then, I guess. But like for me, it was never like a necessity or anything like some of these people are treating it. Like it was like she comes back or we riot kind of deal. It's just like, Kirby's a great character. It was cool. But like, it's just, at the end of the day, I guess it's just like I could take it or leave it. You know what I mean? And I guess the new one's been out long enough, and we haven't really expressed our feelings on this one yet. We're pretty controversial here, aren't we?
I think we are.
Because
like
I was surprised by how positive this movie was received, because I didn't care for Scream 5 at all.
It really caught me off guard. Like I was expecting, like, me and you left that theater in January. I don't know, was it opening night?
It was Friday. Mm-hmm.
I was expecting scathing reviews from this thing, and they were all extremely positive, and I still don't get it.
I don't get it either. I thought it was back like really middling,
revisited it, but it's just like, and maybe I will go back, but it's like the story, I know enough of it in my head to be like, no, I can't misinterpret. You know what I mean? Where it's like, no, that's still the story. And then like to hear so many people prefer like this one as opposed to Scream 4, I don't see it at all. And it's like, we'll dive into that one like really hardcore, I'm sure.
Oh, we're gonna dive into the whole series. I mean, they're literally like, it's like the old days where they're bringing back Scream 6 is coming out next March. So it's one of those things where
Yeah.
it's like it's right around the corner, like in all technicality. So it's like, we'll have an opportunity to talk all about this. But yeah, we weren't big on it.
Yeah. And it's like, and that's why I'm curious. Is this such a fast turnaround? So where they're like, we better add characters into here that people already know so that we can kill them off and continue with the story? I mean, like, that's my concern here. I mean, like, I don't know how long they worked on the script for Scream 5,
Mhm.
but to give them a year out for another film to be coming out, I mean, I don't have that much faith
I
from what
believe
we had seen.
it was pitched as a trilogy
Oh,
from
okay, so they
the
already had
guys
an
who
idea.
did it, so they had ideas already. So it's one of those things where it's like I think this was the groundwork was already laid. Um, but Scream is just another thing where it's just going to be like these Halloween movies, man, where I'm just like, all right, not for me, but like I'll go see it, and then we'll see if they can get me back on board. Like, I thought with Halloween Kills, I was like, okay, if Halloween Kills succeeds and it's great, we can still get everything back on track. And I'm not going to go on a tangent here, but I just don't expect much from Halloween Ends at this
Yeah,
point. Like, and you're talking about somebody who was very positive about Halloween Kills, like, because, but not in like the way I wanted to be positive about it, more in the way of like, yep, we're just gonna keep doing this. So I'm just gonna like take all the critic breaks off, and we're just gonna ride this thing out and see what happens. And I
yeah.
had a fucking blast with that movie. I still do. I watch from time to time, and I'm just like, yep, this is fun. It's cool.
And that's
I
what's
think
like.
the only
I think
real
I've,
thing the
I've
franchise gets right is Michael Myers' look, and just seeing him walk around like that and murder people is sick. So
yeah, and like Halloween Kills I can watch and not be actively mad at, whereas 2018 I can't help myself because I was expecting something so different from
we
2018
all
and I
were,
didn't get
man.
that. And then so it's like Halloween Kills I learned to accept, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna have I know what to expect here, and I'm just gonna have fun with it, So it's like I view those two films very separately. Scream. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the original. I think it's one of the best horror movies. From a
Absolutely.
storytelling perspective, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Um,
The cast too. I mean, holy shit. Like,
and
I
then
mean,
like
Matthew Lillard, king.
the dude's
Love
on
that
another
man.
level.
Like, I love
Um,
that man so much.
but and it's like I kind of get worked up in the sense where like when people talk when they kind of shit on 4 and they say 5 is great, and I'm like, look at what they did with 4 in terms of the killer, and then tell me that's better than what they did with 5 in their reason. Like, come on, it's not.
Yeah.
Not even
5
close.
was, and we're kind of turning this into like, I guess I'll so we can get into this a little deeper before we move on, is just that for me, I'm happy to see Kirby back. Great. Handed Peyton yeah, handed Peyton Tier, like, come on back. We're doing it great. Like, I'll watch you. I'm happy. Another returning face is cool. But like 5 really, I think, was on a down spiral for me through most of that movie. And then you went and killed Dewey, and that pissed me off even more. And
Man,
then I was like, it all has to like, and I could forgive it if the motivations of the killers and everything worked out and it was unique and it felt, cool and nice. But it was the fact that they just turned it into a statement on like culture of like when Last Jedi came out and all that,
yes.
toxicity and everything, and toxic fandom and everything. It's like, I get that that's a thing, but like, that's literally a joke that I think we made going into the theater, was
Yeah.
just that it's like, it's just like, what if it's all just like, oh, the fan base of what is it, fucking Stab, is like,
Yes.
all butthurt about the movies and stuff like that. It's like, that is just so weak in my opinion as to where you could have gone. And like, I'm one of the people that wanted to see Stu come back, because like,
Yeah.
fuck it at this point, like, who cares? Like, and I guess that's kind of the thing you can get with Kirby here, where it's like, did she died in 4, but it's like, no, she didn't die. So it's like, fuck it, whatever, bring her back at this point, who cares? I think with a lot of these legacy horror films, I'm at the point where it's like, fucking take the masks off, just go, just bring people back. make it entertaining. Just make me like these movies, because like I don't really like a lot of them, and like I think I'm just at my
Yeah.
wit's end with it. So it's like just
And that's where it's like we I don't think a lot of people think about the perspective of, we want something different. We want something fresh. We want something new. But like when I'm watching Friday 13th, in a thought, like when I buy this Scream Factory Friday 13th, I want to watch them all in succession, and I want to be like, oh yeah, I just want to go on this killing spree with Jason Voorhees. I don't need a different kind of storytelling. Just give me competent characters,
yep.
competent storytelling, and give me cool kills. Like don't do anything different, but don't insult my intelligence either, and I feel like kind of Scream did that a little bit. And I don't know, like I'm excited to see Kirby back. People I don't think give her enough credit, where I think they look at it through a 2022 lens, where her character's not that original. But would that movie come out in 2010, 2011,
I think so.
whatever it was?
2011, I'm pretty sure.
And they made her like into obviously Hayden Panettiere is a very attractive woman, but they didn't make her into that ditzy damsel in distress. She knew horror movies. She was one of the smartest people in the room, and they weren't doing that at that time. A lot of women in those movies weren't getting their due. So she is a unique character from when that film came out. So it's like they did give her character some teeth, but people don't think about that now. So it's like I'm intrigued to see what they're going to do, and I don't want to turn this into like the shitting on Scream 5 podcast or anything, but it's like I don't have that much faith in it. I'm excited to see Kirby back, but just don't throw all these legacy characters at us in hopes that it'll make the film better. I think they didn't have a lot going in Scream 5, so we decided to kill Dewey. You know what I mean? So it's like to make that memorable, but it's like overall, I would have been fine with him dying if it was for a good film, but I don't think that was a good film. So it's like kind of, man, I'm upset that he died in that quality, but whatever. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll go see it.
Yeah, we will. We'll talk about it. It'll be on the show for sure, and we'll talk about the trailer, and we'll do the whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle here,
and we'll get pissed off all over again.
Absolutely.
And then the Scream Factory collection will come out in a few years, and we'll get that because it'll have an exclusive NECA action figure, and it all will be right with the world.
I hope that it's Ghost Billy Loomis from 5. That would be really cool, because that was such an awesome thing to put in that movie. Like, the fuck are we doing,
CGI,
guys?
please.
Yeah, it's like we'll definitely have to get into that movie soon, because like I bought it, and I bought it on Vudu, and I still haven't watched it again yet. But I literally bought it, and I think I texted you and said it was cheap, and I got it because we're gonna talk about it again at some point. So it's like, fuck it.
I would love a Stu and Billy NECA 2-pack.
That'd be great. That's fine. Like, cool. And then give us a ghost face, and like make it a 3-pack, and then like you can literally put the heads on the ghost face, like
on any. And it has to come with a landline phone that Billy can throw at Stu.
There you go. Yeah, I guess so. That kind of takes us out of the news segment. We kind of want to try to wrap this up with a little something here. This is my segment of the show, I guess, because I do the research for this, and Luke he picks out the stories for us, and he goes and does all the research. So give him all the credit for the last hour you guys just listened to, because that's the guy right there who's been doing it. Like, I'll throw my suggestions here and there, but this is definitely our guy. So we're going to be talking about things on Blu-ray and streaming. So, this is just a little segment here, because obviously we're physical media collectors ourselves, and just avid movie lovers. So there's always things you want to be watching, new stuff. You want to be, collecting new things. You got a new horror movie that comes out. One that I think just kind of missed the show, but I will mention it off the top here, was X came out on Blu-ray. Yeah. And I don't know if that's official or not, but apparently, and I'm a 4K collector, Luke's a 4K collector, apparently that movie's getting a 4K release. And nothing grinds my gears more than buying a movie on Blu-ray because there's no 4K and then finding out there's a 4K release right around the corner. But
They got you on that one, brother.
it is what it is. I just hope that the 4K has more special features because, again, I like the Blu-ray. I enjoy the movie. We will talk about it here at some point. But I think I went through and I watched all the special features. And like the featurette's cool. It's only about 11 minutes. So you only get a little bit of behind the scenes. So, they could have just released that out on YouTube for people at that point.
Yeah.
But then, with they have the farmer's daughter. So the porno that they're making in the movie is on the special features. But it's
Oh boy.
only the scenes leading into the sex. So it's kind of like you just kind of get to see lead up.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, okay, that I guess that's cool. Like, whatever. Like, I'm not sitting here saying I needed the full porno, but it's just kind of like 15 minutes of this. Okay, whatever. Fuck it. And no
You want to get
commentary.
real aggressive.
Yeah, no commentary, no nothing. So I love you, A24, but please, for the love of God, fix your Blu-ray like your standard releases. Like, give us a little more here, because like your clientele, that they're gonna go crazy over this. We're not just like every other fucking person out here who's gonna watch it and then that's gonna be it. Like, we want this shit. I want directors' commentaries, especially with movies. Like, we didn't care too much for it, but damn, I want to hear a commentary for the movie Men. I want to know what the fuck was going through Alex Garland's head right there, man. You know what I mean? But
he's like, I don't know. I just decided to do something.
X would have been one that I genuinely would have been interested to see a little bit more into Ty West's mind.
Well, and it's like, I don't even care what the movie's about. It's just like, give me a commentary, man. Like, I think that's the norm on a lot of these movies now, where it's like, it hardly ever seems like there's a commentary. I don't
there
care
used
if
to
it's
be on
Street
every
Fighter.
fucking movie you ever bought back in the day. Like,
Yeah, that
when
was
they
like
were
the
all
big
on
thing.
DVD. Like, that was what it was.
It was like, that was the reason I think that was one of the big reasons for going from VHS to DVD, was like, oh, well, now we're just loading it with extras, behind the scenes commentary. You get 2 discs, all this other stuff. And now it's just like, nah, it's a nice picture, which is cool, but like, give me the other stuff too.
No, I
It's
feel
like, it has to exist. You have the director, he directed it. He'll
it's the
sit down
same
for an
shit
hour and
with
a half.
4K. You know what I mean? Like, because like you're right. They used to push a lot of those, especially with Blu-ray too. They moved all the features from DVD to Blu-ray to make that a selling point. And that's great. I like that. That's fine. But even with 4K, like, half the time the special features are still just as small on those as they would be with anything else. And it's like, dude, just don't skimp on that shit. That's why I like, for some of these movies, it's kind of just like, and I know the turnaround can be light, but like, I have a lot of Scream Factory stuff on this list we're going to talk about in a second. But like, it's one of those things that's like, I might just wait for a company like that to put it out, because that they're just going to fucking pay somebody to go interview Ty West and these actors, even if it's years after the fact, just to get some more information for us. Like, I appreciate that shit. Like, I'm one of those people that owns Camp Crystal Lake Memories on Blu-ray, and I own it on my Vudu as well with Never Sleep Again. They're 6-hour long documentaries, but I watch them at least once a year because they're just that interesting.
But like, and like with X, I feel like they better not be just like, we're going to hold off on everything until all the films are released, and then we're going to do a big collection, and then we're going to do all the extras, which I would be extremely irritated by.
Stringing you along, you know how it goes. But this week in horror, something that we didn't miss the boat on, as far as Blu-rays and stuff coming out, we have to talk about the Child's Play 3-pack from Scream Factory. That was the big one.
Yes.
Everybody saw that. There's a lot of different editions. They are really doing great over there at Scream Factory. I own the smaller version of the Halloween and the big box version of the Friday the 13th. Obviously, we both have our posters, lithographs, all that. We were one of the first 13,000, I think it was. You had to be within that to get those two.
They kept extending it.
Yeah, they did. But we were lucky enough to grab it. I grabbed it as soon as it went live. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I love that shit. I love their releases. I'm not the biggest. Sorry, guys, we keep talking about shit I'm not that big on. I'm not the biggest Child's Play fan.
You elitist prick.
I know I'm a fucking asshole, but like it's just one of those things where it's like I guess I've just never really given it the full shot. Again, it's one where I saw a lot of the movies on TV. And it's just one of those things where it's like I've just never really fully gone back there, except for the first one. I do think the first one's a unique concept, and I do like it a lot. I would love to own the Scream Factory version of it, but I think I should probably give these a couple more, like a watch through, and then decide if this sets for me.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're a Child's Play fan, like this is awesome. Like this is great. The fact that we're getting those 4Ks. I hate that the 4Ks are almost $40 a piece if you want them individually. But you know, with these sets, at the end of the day, you do kind of save yourself some money, and you get a lot of cool shit: enamel pins, posters, a figure if you get the $200 set, which is exclusive NECA. It's a cloth figure, which, by the way, Harry Warden was also that, but they released him a few years later by himself. So, just saying, this may not be the only way to get that figure. But yeah, I think it's awesome. But like, Luke, how do you feel about this set, man? Like, tell me some of your thoughts.
Oh, I'm intrigued by it. I think I'm going to pick one up. I don't know which one yet. Those posters look amazing, and obviously we go crazy for posters. So I think I'm gonna pick up a set. I am a Child's Play fan. 1 and 2, 3 not so much. If you, I would recommend. You said you've revisited 1. I've revisited 2 because it's like, 1 kind of takes itself very serious, and then by 2 they're probably like, nah, it's a possessed doll. How much damage can you do? So it's still that before it goes complete, well, not complete comedy, before they inject a lot of comedy into it. I think 2 is a pretty good marriage of horror plus comedy. Plus Brad Dourif, I mean, oh my gosh, voice
Excellent.
acting wise, that dude is just on another level. Like, you can't use him. You could, no one else could have done that at all. I mean, they've tried it with the reboots, didn't work for me. So I'm intrigued by it. I'm a Chucky fan. I mean, like, I watched the TV series, which is phenomenal. I would recommend that
I've
one.
heard that's great. Yeah.
Definitely worth a watch. I think it's on Peacock. I'm excited to see so much memorabilia. This one did catch me off guard. I didn't know that this was even going to be released. I hadn't kept up on it until the pictures were out, and I was like, oh man, those posters are nice. So I think this is one. I haven't looked at all the special features and everything, but I think this is one that it's worth owning for a lot of people. So I'm really excited to see it. I actually do own a big collection for that one. I think it's mostly all of them. It comes like in almost like what looks like the Good Guy doll box set.
I know which one you're talking about. Mm-hmm.
Which is great. But you know, those 4Ks are calling my name. So I'm definitely gonna get one of these. I just don't know which one yet. But I mean, again, Scream Factory is doing beautiful work.
Oh yeah,
they don't miss with this type of stuff. So it's like, and the figure looks great too. It's another selling point for me if I decide to get that version. But now that you're saying that Harry Warden didn't come out years later, I don't know now. So we'll have to reassess and see what we come up with.
It was like a year difference too, dude. So it's like not like you have to wait that long. But
yeah,
I could be wrong. And you can just buy the figure on its own on the website if that helps you too. So it's like that's an option for you. But that's coming out in August. So that's something to look forward to in August there. I think it's August 26th, I believe is the exact date. Other things that I saw on Scream Factory's website that I figured I would just jot down in this section to go over real quick. Awesome to see Dog Soldiers getting a 4K here in July.
Yes.
And then also in July, we're getting Species, which is a fun little movie. I don't know how you feel about that series.
My dad used to watch it on TV. I actually haven't revisited that one as an adult, so I don't know. I'd have to. Yeah, the jury would be out for me on that one.
They're interesting. They got a lot of body horror to them. They're not the, grade A horror cinema, but they're entertaining. I think it's nice to see a movie like that getting a 4K release. And then, of course, one of my favorite Tobe Hooper features, Funhouse, is getting a 4K.
Yes.
Release, which we'll be covering that at some point down the line.
Absolutely.
And then I do want to mention the folks over in Germany are getting something kind of cool. It's one of those things where it's like I'm jealous, but at the end of the day, it is just artwork. Nothing else is really going to be that different. But they are getting Germany is getting an exclusive digibook for Bad Moon, which I sent you the artwork of. Did you take a look at it?
Yeah, I actually saw it on Twitter a few days ago. And that artwork is beautiful. I
Yep.
almost want to just get it and then put my Blu-ray Bad Moon in there, just so I have the
Yeah.
digibook and the art. Would be
It's
so nice.
NSM Records is responsible for that one, and I see they did a couple of other ones too for like Halloween and stuff like that with some
Yeah,
really cool artwork. And it's just like that's stuff that horror fans really appreciate, man. Like, I mean, this is something that wouldn't even play. Like, I have a region free player. I was gifted to me, very awesome. Thank you, Andrew. But it's one of those things where it's like, I could get it and watch it, but it's just like Lord knows how much it's going to cost to get shipped over here and
yeah.
everything. And it's like, am I that big of a fan of Bad Moon? Like, I think it's a cool movie, but like, yeah, that would just depend. I think if I walked into like a secondhand store and saw it, it'd be an instant purchase. But yeah, it's interesting. I definitely appreciate that. And like going back to Scream Factory, like they're the reason why they're the little icon I chose for our layout here, because they come out with some of the best artwork when it comes to their stuff, and that's just something horror fans appreciate.
And to be in this space right here in 2022, where we just got done talking about Neca and how they put so much detail and work into their figures. We talk about Scream Factory, where I mean, we can see the box set of Friday the 13th behind you, the posters that come with it, the commentaries, the remasters, all this stuff. Waxwork putting out so many great
Records.
soundtracks with great art, that you can just hang up on your wall if you don't want to all this stuff. And it's just like, what a space we live in, that,
It's a great time to be a horror fan, man.
yeah, and it's like, I don't know, I don't dabble into like if there is like another little community of like action fanatics or drama fanatics or any of that stuff, but like horror is such a community that I
Mhm.
absolutely love, because we will all go out of our way to purchase the things that we love. It's like only Bad Moon it's just a little digibook with great art, but like, it makes you think like, do I need that? Because that
Yeah,
is some
right.
artwork, so it's like, what a space we live in here, where it's just phenomenal that the community will there is demand for almost anything, because we're such hardcore fans that it's like, oh, hey, I'll make an enamel pin that's got the silver shamrock masks on it. You know what I mean? And someone
Someone
will
will
buy
buy
it.
it.
It's like, it doesn't matter. I'll make a They Live pin that says obey, and someone's gonna buy it. Me.
Yeah,
It's just like,
I'm sitting
it's
there
like
like, I think you have some of these. Like,
yeah, it's like you can't help yourself, so it's like, I just love the horror community and the space that we're in, because they're such an outlet for this stuff for us to own. It's like, which again, 10-15 years ago didn't exist. So it's like, what a time in 2022 we're in.
absolutely. And then I just wanted to mention a couple things hitting streaming. Not a whole lot that I could find that's super original right now, or that's really worth mentioning. But obviously, we talked about at the top of the show, Stranger Things season 4. That's probably the biggest thing if we're talking that kind of horror elements, horror show. That's a big one right now. So I'm gonna toss that in there. But also, Alligator and Alligator 2 are hitting Shutter on June 2nd. So,
Which is a big one.
by this point, it's already passed, so it's already available to you. But yes, that's pretty cool to see. Those are definitely ones I want to revisit and check out again, because I've got a soft spot in my heart, obviously, for some creature features. Alligators are also on towards the top of that list.
Can't get enough of them. I'm intrigued to check them out as well, especially that sequel.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's one I've never seen it, and I do want to get into that a little bit and see what the deal is with it.
That should be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I guess that about wraps us up So, you have any closing thoughts? Anything about any of the topics we talked about today, Luke?
No, I mean, a lot to digest there. I hope we did well with kind of bringing everyone the news here. A lot of things to contemplate. I mean, some good news, some in the middle news, and maybe some downright bad news. Who knows?
We'll see.
But I think we covered it all. I think you're gonna always have a mixed bag with the horror, in a horror genre like this. But uh, any content's pretty good content, so it's like I don't think we can complain too much.
No. Can't complain at all. But yeah, that about wraps us up for that. So if you liked what you heard today, if you enjoyed this episode, please check out some of our other videos. If you're hearing us on the podcast feed, definitely check out some of our other shows. You can find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, as well as Google Podcast, and of course, if you're watching us here on YouTube, right here on YouTube, where you can watch our videos as well as listening to us. Obviously, hit us up on Twitter. That's our main social media hub right now. It's kind of the one we're using the most at Splattercast Pod. Luke, he kind of runs the show on there. I'll get on there and say a couple things every once in a while, but that guy's definitely got some of the best takes, and he'll be the one basically shepherding you through there. But if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or anything that you think we could improve on, or anything you just want to give us props for, hit us up on there or hit us up with a comment down below. We're always looking for ways to improve our shows and just make sure that we're doing better now that we have this one, and of course the traditional Splattercast. So if you have anything to say to us, please reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Other than that, that about wraps us up. Luke, so do you want to take us out of here?
Yeah, so I hope we cut up all those little horror pieces of news and those digestible pieces of content and produced a pretty great horror smoothie, as I said at the beginning of this. But since it is Sunday morning, have a couple more cups of coffee, and I don't know, maybe load up the next episode of Splattercast here coming up. But until then, I'm Luke Janesco.
And I'm Dylan Newell.
And remember, stay scared.